as they begrudgingly shake hands. But you can tell there's still a lot of friction between these two guys. And then later on in the show, the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Basham Brothers, they were supposed to defend against Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi, but the Bashams beat up their challengers before the match could even start. But then, Kurt, you come out and say you've just left SmackDown. General Manager Paul Heyman's, you left his office and you've come out to an argument. And you say, listen, Paul and I talked. We have an agreement in place. The Guerreros are going to get the tag title shot instead. You've been associated a lot with Paul Heyman during your time in the WWE. How much did you enjoy working with Paul?
You know what? Paul was one of the best minds I've ever known in wrestling. I'd say he's second to Vince. I loved his ideas, his concepts. He had this belief system that worked really well. He was also incredibly talented. You give him a microphone, he can do and say whatever he wants, and it's going to be like 5 stars. I loved working with Paul Heyman, and I loved his ideas.
I love what you said there. If Meltzer ever rated promos like he does matches, Paul Heyman would deliver 5 stars every time.
Yes, he would. Yes.
I mean, he was that good, you know, him, Cornette. There were some guys that could just grab his,
too, yeah.
I mean, he's another one. So, well, the Bashams went
managers.
Yeah, that's why they were the mouthpieces. Hello. So the Bashams win the match, and afterwards they attack Eddie while Chavo just watches from outside the ring. He's not getting involved. Then he goes and helps Eddie to his feet before turning on him and viciously beating him down, and he left him in a pool of blood, Kurt. And to add insult to injury, Chavo then leaves the arena in Eddie's lowrider. Kurt, here you come again. Try to console an emotional Eddie in the locker room as he's being checked over by the doctor and apologize for misjudging Chavo. And you said, hey, I'm not going to get involved in family matters anymore. This thing is imploding right in front of us here, Kurt. Is Chavo, is he someone that you think doesn't get a lot of credit because Eddie was just so good that Chavo was just a little bit overshadowed?
Yes, I think Chavo was really good. I think he was great. I think that he is even legendary. I believe that. I think that he has given enough time in professional wrestling and had enough success to be called a legend, but he wasn't Eddie. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Eddie had a certain charisma. He had a certain look. He had a certain way about him. He carried himself differently. There is never going to be another Eddie Guerrero.
He had it and all of it. Eddie Guerrero did, that's for sure. Well, listen, dude, the following week, SmackDown was in Connecticut, and Kurt, you pass on a message to Eddie that you were told Chavo Jr. isn't there tonight, but Chavo Sr., Eddie's brother and Chavo's dad, is, and he's going to apologize on behalf of his son. You also said that you overheard Paul Heyman say it's going to be Eddie versus Chavo in the match at Royal Rumble. But Eddie says this isn't what he wants, and he tells you to stay out of family business, Kurt. I mean, are you enjoying just being a little family pot stirrer here or what?
I am stirring the shit, man. I don't even remember what I did after this. I don't know if I turned on Eddie or what, but this is really good stuff. I mean,
this is good stuff.
Consoling Eddie and helping him out and trying to help him with whatever problems he has. This is great.
This is the soap opera that is your life at this point. So let's continue on with the story. Eddie and Chavo Sr. then are in the ring discussing everything that has happened when Chavo does end up appearing. Father and son then beat the crap out of Eddie until you eventually make the save, Kurt, and chase him off. Eddie then confronts you backstage, and it seemed like he wants to fight you. But then he thanks you for making him now realize he wants to fight his nephew. Man, Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle as a tag team. What could have been, pal?
What could have been? That's right. Me and Eddie Guerrero. I you know what? I would say this. It would have been different. It definitely would have. Our personalities clash. I don't even know if we could tag together. We probably would have gotten in fights every single night. For real.
Right. Instead of fighting the tag team, you're fighting each other.
Yeah.
But you know what? You guys both had passion. You both had fire. You both had the in-ring ability. I mean,
we both had tempers.
Well, there you go. That's a recipe for disaster. The go-home SmackDown was in Minneapolis, and it's your first match back since Survivor Series 2 months earlier. Kurt, how much ring rust did you have, or were you ready to be back in the ring at this point?
Listen, I was hurt so many times. I don't even know what ring rust is. Okay?
You lived with ring rust.
I came out of injury and I had to wrestle like the next day. You know, I really don't even know what ring rust is, because I knew that It didn't matter if I got injured. It didn't matter if I was out 6 months or 2 months or a month. When I came back, I was still on. And I think it's because I made myself believe you're going to keep getting injured and you're going to have to come back and you're going to have to work through that. And you're going to be a little rusty. And I think I just set my mind straight that, you know what, when I come back, I'll be on. And I was. I mean, I've always been able to, my conditioning has always been impeccable. And I've always been able to out-condition my opponents. So even if I was injured for 6 months, I'd come back and I'd be in shape. It wasn't that hard for me.
And it always felt like, Kurt, that your mindset was, whether I'm injured, dinged up or not, I'm going balls to the wall. I don't care how I feel. Once I get in between the ropes, it's on.
That's pretty much the story. I was going to go balls to the wall regardless. Yeah.
Well, listen, you and Eddie do end up losing to Chavo Jr. and Chavo Sr. when you get a nasty thumb poke to the eye and then end up accidentally hitting the angle slam on Eddie, because of course you did. We're building that story. And it caused Eddie to get pinned following a frog splash from Chavo Jr. But man, listen, you get to work with all three Guerreros in one match. That probably hasn't happened a lot. Man, that's a pretty big honor, Kurt.
Oh, yeah. The Guerrero family. I mean, where they started in Mexico and the family they built up and the reputation that they got, being in the ring with those three was incredible. It was a huge honor. The Guerrero family is the best.
Wrestling legends. When you talk about families in the business, you think about the Funks and others. The Guerreros got to be right there, man, in terms of legacy in the business. Well, listen, we're on to the Royal Rumble itself. It is in Philadelphia. There you go. How apropos is you're going to be there, in a day or so. Yeah. January 25th. Eddie ends up beating Chavo in their match. Were you surprised you weren't involved in their match at all? All of a sudden, they don't have you involved at all for the pay-per-view. Or do you feel like, hey, no, they needed to go out there and do their own thing?
Well, if they were going to do the build-up with me and Eddie for WrestleMania, I think I should have been involved. I think it would have only been right. But I think what they wanted to do is have Eddie with a strong finish and get a good win against his nephew, Chavo. So I was okay being outside of it or not being involved, but I think I should have been involved because the program would have continued.